Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Thursday's Q&A with Haggerty Dog Training. I am Babette Haggerty, your dog trainer and problem solver. And if I'm not your dog trainer, that's okay. I can give you a lot of good advice and help you find a great trainer wherever you are. You know, people often ask me, when should I start training my dog? My answer to that is today. The sooner you start training your dog, the better off you're going to be, the happier your dog will be. And the easier your relationship with your dog, the easier your relationship with your dog will become, because you're setting the ground rules now for you and your dog. Now, you might have a 6-year-old dog and think, oh, I haven't trained him, or he hasn't learned anything up to this point. What's the point? The point is you can make his life better for the rest of the time that you have him. Now, before we get to some of the questions of this week, which I had some really nice questions that came in, I want to share with you a little story. In yoga, we call it a dharma talk. I'm reading this great book, Living by Vow. I really like it. Where did my story go? Okay. So, oh my goodness. Here it is. All right. There's a book called The Hungry Tigress. The author, Rafe Morton, tells the story of the beginning of Shakyamuni's Buddha's search for truth. In this story, Shakyamuni was a king named Subrabhasa. One day, the king asked his elephant trainer to bring his great white elephant for him to ride. The trainer said that the elephant had escaped to the jungle, but it would return because he had trained it well. The king did not believe him, grew angry, lost all self-control, yelled at him, and told him to leave. Next morning, the trainer reported that the elephant had returned. The training was good, he said. We have conquered his old wild ways. When he heard this, the king thought, though I am a king holding great power over others, I have as yet failed to conquer what is closest, myself. I was unable to control my own anger. This will not do. Now, what does this have to do with dog training? It has a lot to do with dog training. First of all, when you're angry or frustrated with your dog, don't work with your dog. Just put your dog out. Whether it's in the crate, let him play in the backyard, let him get his energy out. Your dog is a whole lot smarter than you believe. You never want to work with your dog when you're angry. Dogs are, not only are they smarter than we believe them to be, but they're also calmer, and they know how to get the best of us if we let them, and you don't want to let them. So number one, from that story, take from me the one lesson, the most important lesson is don't train when you're angry. The other thing I want to talk about is the expectations of a dog. Sometimes we get people that come in here and it's their first day of day school. And their question is, well, what did he learn today? What did he learn today? It's only the first day of school. When you first went to your first day of nursery school, you didn't learn the alphabet completely. It took some time to learn it. And then you became a little bit older and you started to learn how to count. Then you learned how to add and subtract. And you had to then learn how to multiply. I don't know about you, but I had to drill my daughter on her addition and subtraction and multiplication facts for quite some time before she got it. And even I, being 52 years of age, sometimes somebody will say to me, what's X times X? And I have to think like, oh, it's this number. It takes you a second to think. So you can't expect your dog to just be able to do everything right away. All dogs, they will respond to training, and they respond at different paces. Just like maybe you went to Harvard. I didn't go to Harvard. I was not going to Harvard. Harvard was not calling me up and saying, Babette, come to school. We're going to give you a scholarship. Okay? Because I progressed more slowly than my friends who went to Harvard or UPenn and got their MBAs in, 4 years. So you have to remember, every dog works a little bit differently. Yes, Elizabeth, I am 52. I found a picture of me today from 1984 when I was cleaning out some books. I am older than I want to realize, but yes, you're very sweet. So one thing is, don't expect too much from your dog. Just be happy with the progress you're making today. The more work you give your dog, the happier they're going to be, but you also have to be patient with your dog. Dogs can be our greatest teachers if we allow them to be. We have often had people who have called us, the dog is not progressing as quickly as they want. And they think, oh, the dog's stupid. I'm just going to get rid of the dog. Well, I remember my dad used to say to people, I was actually at a lesson with him one time. And, the owner said to the dog, to my dad, he said, I've worked on this, I've worked on that. He's just not getting it. When is he going to get it? In the meantime, the owner was clearly not doing their homework. And my dad turned to him and said, or her actually, and said, when are you going to get it? Your dog's not going to get it if you're not getting it. So if you're having trouble doing your homework, you're having trouble practicing, you're having difficulty working on the skills, you can't expect your dog to know these things. Another time my dad said to somebody, they said, I don't get it. I'm working with this dog. I'm spending all of this money and my dog is just dumb. And my dad said, your dog's dumb, huh? Yeah, my dog is dumb. And my dad said to him, really? What'd you do today? Oh, I was at the office and it was a bad day and blah, 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 blah. And then, I come home and, the dog has to be taken for a walk. And he said, oh, and what did you do? And walked him through the day. And my dad said, so you were at work today and then you came home and you took the dog out, you cooked dinner for the dog, you took the dog to the park, and then you came in and your dog was just laying around on the sofa. Yeah, he's a dumb dog. He's a dumb dog. And my dad said, yeah, he's got you paying the bills and he's doing nothing all day. Who's the dumb one? The person didn't get it at first, but my dad's point was that, our dogs are really not as dumb as we think that they are, and they can be our greatest teacher. Many trainers will tell you that there's always been a dog that has taught them the most. And I've had students who I've thought to myself, oh my gosh, like, wow, why are you making this so difficult? And that dog is there to teach me a lesson. So one thing to remember, your dog is not as dumb as you think, and our dogs are our teachers. Yes, we want to control dogs. We want our dogs to listen to us. We want our dogs to do what we tell them to do, what we think that they should do. Just like the king with his elephant trainer. Well, the elephant should be behaving the way I think he should be behaving. Well, the elephant was behaving like an elephant. So don't be surprised when your dog's behaving like a dog. Dogs do those things. People will say, oh, I brought the puppy home and he's peeing in the house. Well, who's letting him? He has to go to the bathroom. He's doing what dogs do. They pee. They have to go to the bathroom. They drink a lot of water. They jump. They chew things. Well, the dog keeps eating my shoes. Well, why are the shoes out for your dog to chew? Put the shoes away. Don't let them do that. Take away the opportunity from them to do those things. Our lives and their lives are a whole lot easier when they're balanced, they're fulfilled, and they're relaxed. And you don't want to amp up your dog. You want your dog to be a calm dog because calm dogs are good dogs. So that's another thing to remember, that you just have to have patience with your dog and don't expect your dog to do so much. I had one lady that she had written to me and she had bought this 8-week-old puppy from a place I would never buy a dog from. I'll just leave it at that. And she had like a 4-year-old son who had a disability of some sort. I don't remember the details. It was a very rare disorder. And he was 4 years old. And the woman wanted the dog to be outside with the son, unsupervised, and be able to walk him from place to place. He's 4 years old. I wouldn't even let my regular 4-year-old kid walk, down the street to the store by himself. You want the dog at 8 weeks of age to be able to walk your 4-year-old son who has very little abilities to walk like across town with the dog, and the dog's supposed to take direction, and you bought him from somebody who doesn't even breed service dogs. So, it was just a very unreasonable expectation. So you have to know when your expectations are reasonable, and you have to know when they're not reasonable, and cut your dog a break. A lot of times the problem's not the dog, it's you. And it's not to say that you can't get through it. And I don't want you to feel like I'm, beating up on you, but we have to have reasonable expectations when it comes to our dogs. So, if you take nothing away today, remember, don't work your dog when they're angry. Don't have unreasonable expectations from your dog. And instead of being frustrated with your dog, take a step back and think, what am I learning here? Why is this dog here? And what is this dog trying to teach me? The dog's probably trying to teach you patience, a lot of patience, because you need a lot of patience with a dog. Now, I know some people are going back to work and, we're getting, maybe, going back to a lifestyle we had a year ago, and people are starting to leave their dogs alone. And what ends up happening when they leave their dogs alone, they start becoming nervous. The dogs haven't been left alone. Hi, Jude, Jeff. Nice. Thank you for coming on. And there's Elizabeth. So, anyway, where was I? So one thing I want you all to do, for those of you that are still working from home, I want you to start leaving your dogs home for periods of time. Start building up that length of time, because I'll tell you what, in 6 months, 8 months, if you go back into the office and you're gone 8 hours a day and your dog has never been left alone, they're going to be whining, they're going to be crying, they're going to be doing just what that dog is doing now. It's playtime here, so they're getting excited. So you need to start getting your dog used to being left alone. That's super, super important. So enough on that. I want to get through some of these questions that we've had that have come in. Let's see. All right. I have a 2.5-year-old black lab pit bull mix. She weighs 67 pounds. She gets so excited when she sees people, and she jumps up on them and now starts barking at them. If they don't pet her enough and give her attention, then she'll keep barking at them. Usually it happens for about 5 or so minutes when meeting someone new. All right. So from what I'm hearing, this dog is jumping up on people and starts barking at them. And she doesn't stop until people start petting her. So picture this. The dog is jumping and barking, and people are saying, get down, get down, get down. You see what's happening? They're pushing her off, pushing her off. When you push the dog off, you're stroking them. You're praising them. You're telling them, oh, good dog for jumping up. Good dog for jumping up. You can't do that. What you're doing is you're praising the behavior and reinforcing the behavior that you don't want. So don't let them do that. Bring them away from the people. Let her calm down beforehand. If she learns every time she goes to somebody, and then if she starts barking, bark, 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 and I get pet, bark, 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 I get a pet, she's going to be barking all day, because that's giving her reinforcement. So you can't let people push her off, and you can't say, good dog, it's okay, shh, shh. It's the biggest mistake people make is shh, good dog, good pet. So you can't reward this bad behavior. You're creating a problem, and it will get bigger and it will get worse. So one thing you can do is teach her to sit and stay with those distractions. Teach her to greet people appropriately. If she jumps up on people, take her off. You can use a spray bottle telling her no. Tell people, don't touch my dog if she's jumping up on you. She has to learn the meaning of the word no. She was fostered with 6 other dogs before we adopted her. Because of the pandemic, she has had much more time to interact with other dogs. When she sees another dog, her tail starts wagging and she gets really excited. All right, I'm not saying that this is happening in this situation, but a lot of people say, oh, my dog, barks and lunges at other dogs. I just need to, put him in a group class, and he's wagging his tail, so he's really happy, but he pounced on my neighbor's dog and really scared him. That's kind of a broad problem, and I'm not giving you a lot of information there. I'm just kind of taking sort of a common problem, but a common solution people think is, let me get my dog with other people. Let me get my dog into a group class. I have no control over my dog to begin with, so now I'm going to put them in a group class. Well, why would you do that? That's just not a good idea. You need to get control over the dog individually before you put them into a group class. For example, I had a dog not too long ago that nervous Nelly, every sight, every sound, she would just spook. She just couldn't settle down. And I told the owners, I said, you really need to get her out. Get her out as much as possible, even if it's for a car ride. Go sit outside of a Starbucks. Get her out. Get her used to sights and sounds. Take her up and down the aisles of the pet store. Because if you can't get her to focus on you, and I was giving them exercises to get her to focus on them right there next to them on the leash, Their biggest concern was the dog not listening when she was off the leash. I said, you can't even get the dog to listen on the leash next to you and focus on you. You have to build that focus. If you don't build the focus with your dog 6 inches away from you, how are you going to build the focus with the dog off leash 30 feet away? Especially if they're scared of every single sound out there. So they needed to desensitize the dog, build the focus onto the owner at a short distance instead of just saying, oh, well, we worked on it for 30 and a half seconds. Let's take her off the leash and see what happens. No, she's still afraid of everything. You've got to slowly build it up. Training is a process. Everybody says, oh, I want my dog off leash trained, or my dog is 8 weeks and she listens to me. She's well behaved. She's ready for off leash training. No, she's really not. Because in a few weeks, she's going to be less dependent on you. She's going to start sowing her oats, and she's not going to be listening to you too much longer. And give it some time, and you'll see in a couple of months, your dog's not going to be listening to you if you don't do the work now. So make sure you're not pushing your dogs too far, further than they're ready. And that's super important. What other problems do we have here? Okay, so she pulls on the leash too much. Well, she's probably learned to pull on the leash. I have no idea what collar she is using. I will tell you, I had somebody that came in not too long ago. They came in, dog was dragging them, and the dog was on a harness. They had no control over the dog. Well, I don't want to use a harness. Well, think about what harnesses are used for. Harnesses are used to teach a dog to pull more comfortably. So you're not teaching the dog to walk next to you on a loose leash. You're teaching your dog to drag you down the street on a harness. That's what sled dogs use. That's what they use to train guard dogs, attack dogs, dogs for police work. And I hate to tell you, but there's still dog fighting out there. And that's what they use to train dogs to fight. So get rid of the harness. All right. So one of my questions is from Elizabeth in Texas. What's the best way to introduce a new 8-week-old German Shepherd puppy to a 7-year-old German Shepherd? Will the older dog get jealous? Probably not. As long as, now I'm going to use as an example. Today we had somebody that called a little while ago. Their dog is going after other dogs, doesn't like other dogs. And I think it's 8 years old. I know it wasn't you. It was somebody else. Because I think it was like a Mastiff mix or something. And they said, well, we're getting a puppy, so we have to get her good around other dogs. For 8 years, your dog has been going after other dogs. Your dog has injured other dogs. Your dog's been in dog fights. And now you're going to get a puppy? Let's get the first dog straightened out first before you add a puppy to the mix. I'm using that as an example. Elizabeth in Texas, I'm sure that that's not your issue. I'm sure your German Shepherd is a great dog. I'm not sure if you're getting a male or a female. I'm not sure if you have a male or a female. I think you mentioned you have a male. The older dog probably will not get jealous. What's going to happen is often those dogs they'll just take the dog in as one of their own. They're going to have a buddy. They're going to teach them the ropes, so to speak. Any bad behaviors, though, that your older dog has, your puppy might pick up on them. So you want to start working with the puppy as soon as possible. And they're going to work things out amongst themselves. And you also want to be fair, for people who have like senior dogs that, maybe, their time is coming soon. You want to make sure that that puppy isn't abusing the older dog too much. Just like you wouldn't let, your 4-year-old, little Timmy who, loves to play with, I don't know. Well, I know G.I. Joe's probably not around anymore, but plays rough and tough. You're not going to let him like go dive into grandma's little legs and cane. Same thing with your dog. You can't let the dog just be too rough with the older dog, the puppy to be too rough with the older dog. So you just have to watch them. Sometimes if you just bring them out in the yard, that's neutral enough. It's a puppy. It's not your older dog is not going to feel threatened by it. They'll have a good time. And the older dog is really going to set the groundwork for the puppy. And if you need more help, just give us a call and we can do a Zoom session even for more specifics. And Rachel, thank you for your wise words. Darla is doing really well. She learns quickly. Sometimes I do lose my patience and I get frustrated with her. From now on, I'll take a break when I feel that way. Hey, you know what? It's normal. I lose my patience too. I was having a bad day the other day and, I was like, oh, I just need to take a walk. And because I knew I was either going to like snap at my kids, snap at my husband, snap at one of my employees, lose my patience with one of the dogs, you just have to walk away from it. We're human, we're not infallible. We're gonna, we're gonna snap just like dogs do. People wonder, like, why doesn't my dog get along with every single dog it meets? Do you get along with every single person you meet? I know I don't, I try to. Some people don't like me, and that's okay. There's some people that I don't like, and some people I love, and some people love me. And same thing with your dog. Your dog's not going to love everybody they meet, and they don't have to love everybody they meet. As long as they're well behaved, that's the important thing. So we're coming to a close. I don't think there are any more questions up. Forgive me if I've missed your question. I know a couple of times I've missed some questions, and I do apologize for that. But anyway, I really thank you guys for tuning in, and I will see you next Thursday at 1:30. And in the meantime, if you have a question between now and then, feel free to go ahead and text it to us, email it to us, and we'll go ahead and make sure we answer that for you. And if you can't make the live, you can always watch the replay. Have a great day, everybody, and stay safe.